Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
That was Kate Smith and God Bless America. How are we coming through now, Gina?
Much better.
Oh, okay. Well, I have no clue what happened. All of a sudden, evidently that was a dead line or something. I apologize. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great, great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and also our dear friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call 734-6969. Wow, Gina, not a good way to start the day.
No, is this a typical way to start a Monday?
But we're coming through okay now, huh?
Yes, perfect.
You know, that's weird because I didn't do or change anything except just hang up and dial you back.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't change anything here, and I go to you, and it's like, nothing.
Oh.
Like, Zeb, are you there? Nothing.
They didn't change anything. Did they change anything from the basketball game or something?
Nope.
Oh, be darned. Well, that's okay. At least we're on the air and ready to rock and roll.
We are. Yes, we are.
Do we have a pledger this morning?
We've got little Miss Abigail on for the pledge.
Okay.
And then we've got Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Oh, okay. Well, good morning, Abby. How are you? Good to have you on the program. Go ahead with the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. God bless you and have a wonderful day, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, we got a lot of things to rock and roll, and right now here is our weather forecast for this week with MichaelRogersWeather.com. Good morning.
Morning, 45 degrees in Murtaugh. I was in Murtaugh yesterday, watched a gorgeous sunrise over the Twin Towers, and our weather scene for this week about some milder temperatures. We haven't seen upper 50s. We haven't seen 60s for a while. We're going to get there. Otherwise, for today, the official designation from the National Weather Service, they're going to call it partly sunny. It's one of those situations where, well, wait a minute, what's the difference between partly sunny and partly cloudy? For me, doing the weather for as long as I have, this much I can tell you, you're at the part of the time of the year where it really doesn't matter, because from here on out, you are ready for spring, no questions asked. So you're going to see a lot of sun, more so than clouds today. 57 for the high, 39 for the overnight low. Same temperatures for tomorrow. Rain on Thursday, but other than that, kind of getting an early start with spring, and spring is not even here yet. So enjoy the weather. Enjoy the day. It's the only weather you got.
The best weatherman in the world, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you very much. Looks like a great forecast for beginning this week. Hey, folks, don't forget SafeLink Internet. You know, I brag about them all the time on my program because it's not bragging if it's a fact. They are Idaho's #1 choice for wireless high-speed Internet, SafeLink Internet, and I suggest you get a hold of them today. Number to remember, 677-8000. Very nice people, very courteous, very free professional installation, ready to serve you at SafeLink Internet. You call them at 677-8000. 8,000. And also, don't forget our dear friends at Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You know, the people just do a wonderful job. There are people today left in America, and most all of them are my sponsors and advertisers, that really, really care about how they run their business and how they treat you. That's exactly what you're going to find at Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, the best cleaner in the universe. You stop in and see them today. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yeah, I got duped. Gina, are you there by the microphone real quick?
Yeah.
I got surprised and confused over what Fox did yesterday on their coverage of the Daytona 500. Did you hear about that? Well, real quickly, after about lap 36, a tremendous rainstorm hit, and they had like a 2 to 2.5 hour delay, and there was threat of tornadoes and everything.
Okay.
So I turned off the race, and it was such a nice day that I kind of hobbled and limped outside and spent a little time outside yesterday afternoon, and came back in the house, and I was watching a basketball game, and then I switched over to the race that I thought was the race, and I kept switching back and forth. But I got duped like millions of Americans. What Fox had done is they were making a replay, Gina, during the rain delay of last year's Daytona 500.
Huh?
Yeah. They played the race from last year, and then at the end of it, Jimmy Johnson was the winner. Well, I thought when I saw Jimmy Johnson slide up in front of the stands and everything that Jimmy Johnson had won the Daytona 500. And so big deal, the race is over. Okay, that's it. Well, the real race went on until dark last night, and Dale Earnhardt was the winner of the Daytona 500 on the real race.
So the real race was won by who?
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And not Jimmy Johnson.
No, because that was the replay of last year's.
Why would they air a replay?
To fill time, because they had a contractual agreement with NASCAR, and they went ahead and ran the replay race of last year, and I, like millions of Americans, and they're calling in from all over the country this morning, were duped into thinking that Jimmy Johnson was the winner at the Daytona 500 yesterday, and the race wasn't over. The real race was started back up, and most people had turned it off and forgot about it, and then it ended up being Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I would be confused just like the rest of everybody else.
I could tell by the look on your face.
It's a huh?
Yeah, that's what I was. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Valley White Home and Ranch. Spring's right around the corner. And March 17th is Chick Day over at Valley White. We're going to tell you a lot more about that as we drive a little bit closer. They've got all your springtime needs, fertilizers, any type of tool that you need. And don't forget, too, they got all your pet foods. They've got it all for you. Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see my friends over there today. Really good folks. Oh, by the way, you need light bulbs? I got mine. I got a great big box of them. You better believe it, at Ramsey Heating and Electric, incandescent light bulbs, and they're getting a lot of them in. And before the government says, no, you can't use those, you got to use something else, we're going to regulate you. Well, stock up and keep on using them and thumb your nose at the government. They've got them in the 40, 60, 75, or 100-watt bulbs, and you better stop in and clear them out. You better believe it. I got a great big box of them. You should too. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, waiting right now to serve you. Well, let's see. Did you hear that in the movie The Son of God, when it originally came out in a miniseries for television, one of the producers, Roma, and I forgot her last name, to save my bacon, I can't think of her name, but she used to star in a television series. Anyway, her and her husband, the producers of this movie, Son of God, were told, and they didn't come right out and say by whom, but I'm assuming it's hierarchy of the government, that they had to censor the face of Satan in the movie The Son of God. Why? Because it looked too much like Obama. It did. It honestly did. There is a complete draw right there between the real face of the President of the United States, Barack Obama, and Satan, which, of course, a lot of us think, well, they should have left it in reality the way it was. But anyhow, they were forced and censored in that movie and to change and cut out the tape where it shows the face of Satan because it looked too much like Barack Obama. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Denny's Restaurant, oh my gosh, this is the week. This is the week. Thursday, we're going to be over there for lunch bunch, and this time I'm walking in the door. I'm not rolling in the door. I'm walking in the door at Denny's Restaurant for lunch bunch this time, I'll guarantee you. And we hope we have a bunch of people this week, Thursday at 11:30 for lunch bunch. The best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Don't forget, celebrate your birthday at Denny's and get a free Grand Slam. Just bring in your valid ID proving it's your birthday, and boy, you're going to eat hearty. That's Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and you stop in and see them today. Wonderful people serving you. I can't hear you, Deanne. And that's at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Don't forget, we're going to have all kinds of gift giveaways, a lot of fun things at Denny's Restaurant Lunch Bunch this Thursday. Oh, boy, that's going to be a lot of fun, too. We're looking forward to it. Oh, and later on this morning, I want to remind you that Cordell Sheridan's going to be on the phone with us talking about his big bull sale that's coming up this next Saturday, March 1st, at the 19th Annual Bull Sale. Cordell Sheridan right there at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard at 1 p.m. Selling 70 head of bulls, Gelbvieh, Angus, and Balancers. 20 head will be coming 2-year-olds. 50 head will be big mature yearlings. And a first-year breeding season guarantee and free delivery up to 300 miles from the Burley area. So be sure and be there at the Burley Auction Yard this Saturday coming up March 1st. And that's the Sheridan Ranch 19th Annual Bull Sale at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard. It is going to be ripping good, I'll guarantee it. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This story I am going to be checking into. Oh, by the way, congratulations. I got to get this in here real quick. Congratulations to girls state basketball champions, Filer and Dietrich. And Dietrich, what now, 4 years in a row? What kind of a basketball phenomenon have they got over there at Dietrich? Good heavens, God bless them, and that's fantastic. And I believe it was the first ever girls state championship for Filer, so congratulations to both of them at the state tourney this past weekend. Getting into this next story, boy, this is one that just infuriates me. 25 kids in California have been paralyzed with the likeness of polio. And nobody seems to really know why. Nobody seems to know that much about it. There's a lot of checking going on. There's a lot of hurry and scurry to see what's causing this. But I've said this before on the radio, and I'm going to say it again, and it may offend some parents. I honestly believe there should not be a child in school that has not been vaccinated. I don't believe there should be a child in daycare that has not been vaccinated. I don't believe there should be a child in any church Sunday school program that has not been vaccinated. And I honestly, firmly believe this, because the polio epidemic can rear its ugly head again in third world countries and come into this country, and it looks like, and God forbid it is polio in California that's paralyzing these kids, it looks like it might be coming back. And I honestly believe this, that for those parents that do not have vaccinations for their children, they should be fined at least $50,000 and locked up for 6 months. I absolutely am adamant. I know that some people are offended by these statements, and when I make this, I know more about it than you do, because I've lived through it. And I don't want any child I don't want any adult to have to go through what I did, because at that juncture, the Salk vaccine was not yet available. How dare you tell me that you know more about it than I do? I've lived it. Now, if you're offended by that, your problem, not mine. Vaccinate those kids. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Later on this week, as a matter of fact, and I'll take calls on that. I won't run and hide. You can call me on my cell phone, too, anytime you want to, 312-2976. Don't forget, later on this week, we're going to be having Eli on from Barry Equipment and Rental, and they've got two locations. Nick runs the one over at Highway 30, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, and Eli's right there at the big one in Twin, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and they've got the Coyote tractors, and they've got great deals for the spring, including free loaders and discounts for spring, and you better check it out. Nick and Rosie for more information at the Burley store, and I'll tell you what, good old Eli, good friend of ours, right there at the 465 Addison Avenue West location with the Coyote tractors and all your equipment that you need at Barry Equipment and Rental. You stop over and see them today. Really nice people. All right, calls are welcome, 436. Gina, did I hear a phone ringing in the background, or was that just me?
Not just you.
But, you know, while you're on the air, and I treasure your opinion, I think you agree with me in its entirety of what I said. Do you not?
I do, as a matter of fact. Sorry, I had a mouthful of coffee.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But I do believe, and, so much stuff going on.
You know, this is, I'm just scared. I really, when I heard this story about 25 kids paralyzed, and they're tentative about saying it's definitely poliomyelitis, but the likeness of polio, boy, I'm telling you, it just made me cringe, because if it's coming up here from third world country, illegal aliens, which we know have crossed the border without immunizations, etc., we know polio is alive and well in other third world countries, it's not going to stop at the border, Gina.
No, it's not going to stop at the border. And here is my question, and maybe we don't know the answers to this yet. Number one, were these children where the parents opted out of vaccination?
I don't know, and I don't know.
Or were these kids, from, were they immigrant children? I mean, that's my question.
Well, these are things that are still sketchy for me this morning. I tried to put together as much information as I could on this earlier. It came across as one of those news bulletins early at about 4:15 this morning. And I certainly hope, and I mean this, I hope that it is not polio. I hope and pray that it is something else that they can check on. But Gina, I'll go back to what I said earlier. To opt out of these vaccination programs, nobody knows how much of a killer and how much of a devastating disease it is than I do, and many others in this area.
Let's see here. I'm actually pulling up the story as we speak. And, you and I have talked about how, parents really do need to vaccinate their children. Not only do they want to have them, in the public school system, but it's also for their safety as well. And I'm just kind of briefly going through this. First case appeared in 2012.
Yeah.
Sophia Jarvis in Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just kind of briefly...
I'll tell you what, why don't we, I'll just go ahead and get another couple of things done here, and then we're going to have Bert Stevenson come on and talk about the water shortage. After he's finished, if you could kind of make some highlights on some updates that you have, we'll talk about it at about right after the weather at 4:45.
You got it.
I appreciate it very much.
Not a problem.
Calls are welcome. Appreciate it. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another story this morning that is absolutely getting larger and larger. There is a Michigan mother that has leukemia. And this is a horrendous story. A Democrat from her state, a Democratic state senator, called her a liar. Now remember, this woman has leukemia. She lost her policy thanks to Obamacare. And she lost most of the coverage that she needed for all of her treatments because of leukemia. And she went out and bought a new policy and it costs her $1,100 a month, but there are many, 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 many more out-of-her-pocket expenses for this new policy. And she can't afford the coverage, she can't afford the radiation, she can't afford the treatments, and she is in a mess. And can you imagine having leukemia, fighting for your life, losing your policy, and then having some dim Democratic senator from your state call you a liar? She is fighting mad. I saw her on television early this morning, and if I were her state senator, I would definitely make every approach to that lady to apologize as soon as possible. Travel Loop Supply, don't forget they've got all your bolts. And you know what Jim said last week, 90% off the filters for the older equipment. Holy cow, I mean, he wants to move them out. He said, clear them out, 90% off. That's almost like giving them away. Give them a call, please, at 438-8730. They're located at 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, and they've got 10% off on Bubba ropes, and they've got all your bolts and metric and standard. They've got it all for you. They deliver the goods. Travel Loop Supply, 438-8730. Time now for the Capital Press Ag Minute. I'll be right back.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Farmers in the United States are getting older, fewer in number, and the amount of land they're farming is getting smaller. Those are the findings of the 2012 Census of Agriculture released Thursday. The United States has 2.1 million acres according to the census, a decrease of 4.3% from the last survey in 2007. The average age of those farmers has increased to 58.3. That's up 1.2 years from 5 years ago, according to a 30-year trend. According to the census, there are 922 million acres devoted to farming and ranching, a decline of just 1%. The Census of Agriculture, first taken in 1840, accounts for all farms and ranches in the United States and the people who operate them. This is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much, Capital Press. And I believe right now, I'll ask Gina first and foremost, do we have former Representative Mr. Bert Stevenson on the line? One of my dearest friends, and I mean that. He and Elaine are just wonderful people, and I'm looking forward to this next Saturday to be at the Lincoln Day banquet over in Burley with them. And he's on the State Water Board for the governor, and this is Bert Stevenson. Bert, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Zeb. Thank you. I know we're short of time. Let me run through where we're at. As of Friday, the director of the Department of Water Resources issued a stay on the water call. Sometime when we get the time, we probably need to go through the details of that water call. But so that people know where they're at today, that stays in place. The groundwater people are meeting this morning in Pocatello. They have submitted a mitigation plan. It looks like the director will probably accept that, but it's that's part of the process that will go. Then the director has indicated that he would expedite the hearing process on the mitigation. Normally that would take us 90 days to get through, and that's way too long, and he's indicated that he would expedite that. And so that's where we're at today.
All right, Bert, let me ask you a couple of poignant questions here. First and foremost, why did this happen? Was it because of Rangans in Buell saying that they had first in line, first in right for the water, and they were going to take all the water and basically shut off the acreage of about 157,000 acres? Is that really what happened?
Well, Zeb, that's what happened, and if you go back a little farther, in 2004, that was determined that was a feudal water call, and now come along, and because of the new model and stuff, the tragedy of it is, in order for them to get their water, you got to shut off 157,000 acres, and it takes 50 years for that water to get there. Now, 50 years from now, with everybody being shut off, there won't be Let me make a couple other comments, Deb, and then you can tell me where I'm wrong. One of the negative effects of when you get this kind of a water call is the effects that it has on local businesses. McCain's now in the middle of an expansion program. If their people in Canada feel like that they can't get potatoes to process, why would they expand? Don't think for a minute that this information does not go around. And so when people are looking to come to Idaho and see that we're having shortages of water, they get really spooky about that. And even the expansion of our local people, our cheese plants, are laying people off because they don't have enough milk. Well, now you shut all this off, and there won't be any milk. So,
Bert, let me ask you. Let me ask you this.
The cities did meet last Thursday, and they've organized because they realize the effects that this water call will have on them.
Right.
And so that's kind of where we're at, Zeb, and I'll answer any other questions you might have.
Well, I sat there and I read as much as I could over the weekend about this water call, and to use the paper of the Times News reference in one of their paragraphs, they said in harm's way are more than 2,300 water right holders, 14 cities, 5 school districts, irrigators, dairies, Jerome Cheese Company, Glanbia, and others. And the cities affected would be Heyburn, Rupert, Burley, Declo, Paul, Cary, Hazleton, Shoshone, Jerome, Richfield, Dietrich, Bliss, Gooding, and Wendell. This is devastating, and in my opinion, and I'd like to hear it from you as a former representative for our state of Idaho, that would economically kill the entire state, would it not?
That's correct. You pull that kind of economy out of the state budget, and it would be a disaster for the state budget. Maxine Bell, I think, quoted that even in the paper, how devastating it would be there.
Bert, why?
That state budget is pretty fragile anyway because we try to keep taxes low, and yet to keep everything, to keep our schools and our roads and those kind of things, it would be a disaster.
Bert, let me ask you this question, and I'm not pointing the finger at Rangans in particular over this, but they are the company that's in name in question. Why? I mean, they are an Idaho company that has been so well respected and so well received, and they do so much business here in the state of Idaho, and a lot of their business goes to the dairy industry. Why do they basically want to cut off the hand that is paying the money to them?
Zeb, I can't answer that question, but one of the things one of the problems we've got is first in time and first in right. That's all the western United States. That's been a water law for years. But we have an unusual circumstance when you have springs that you can't control the outflow. Now, one thing this may do, and we've got it in the budget this year, it looks like we've got some extra money that we can expedite the recharge projects that are going on, and so hopefully, I kind of always try to look for a ray of sunshine coming through the clouds, and maybe this will be one of those rays there that'll show up.
All right, let's talk about, first of all, short answer to this question. Do you think that we have a workable situation for this irrigating season?
The mitigation plan that they're working on, I think will facilitate. I don't think the director will have any problem accepting the mitigation plan that there is. Now, it won't be what Rangan wants, but it will be what the director thinks is fair.
All right.
And so we'll do that. And the director, in his original order, indicated that this would be implemented in a 3-year time frame. We'll get enough water for them to stabilize them this year, and then the next 2 years we'll firm that up with some other projects. So that's kind of where we're at.
All right. Now, you said the next 2 years firm it up with other projects. And like you and I had talked earlier this morning on the telephone when I called you, this is an ongoing problem, and it needs to be solidified and, quite frankly, finalized so that it doesn't rear its ugly head again. How can this be solved so that we don't have this problem next year or the year after, et cetera? I mean, what do you do about this Rangan's water call being first in line, first in time?
Well, and that's the thing that makes it so hard that's the reason people are so angry. They thought here we got 10 years ago, it was determined a feudal call, and now we turn around and change our mind. We got to have more permanency with decisions that are being made by the agencies than we're going to change it every time along the way.
It doesn't seem...
We're working on some things that may happen, but they'll never get through this legislative session for another year that can help some of that.
Now, I think that the local public should realize, Bert, and you can emphasize this to them, that it not only is going to affect farming. Good heavens, a lot of people who live in town think, oh boy, 173,000 or whatever acres might get shut down, 157,000 acres. But look at the municipalities, look at the loss of business, look what it would do to the schools. It would just virtually dry up the state of Idaho because of our economy and agriculture. Explain the seriousness of this.
Well, Zeb, probably the one thing that will be as serious as anything is when people go to their city parks and find out that there's no water, the parks are bare, burnt up. Go out and play golf on a golf course that hasn't had any water for 6 months and see how much fun that's going to be. It affects everybody. Now, it won't affect people's drinking water or their water to take their shower, or what they use in their house. That will not be affected. But I can tell you that most cities have stacked water rights, and they're going to have to shut off water on some part of their parks and that if we don't get this resolved. And I think we'll get it resolved then.
I certainly hope so, and I know you're staying right on top of everything, and I just say God bless you for all your hard work. But I guess one of the questions I've got when I read this front page news story yesterday, and I thought right away about calling you, is, Bert, was this something that just came up all of a sudden and slapped him in the face, or what happened here?
Well, Zeb, the water call has been in the process here and it's been over a year that we've been waiting for the director to make the decision. The thing that happened is the water users were somewhat comfortable that the original feudal call that had been determined would prevail. Well, then they've come along with this new model, and that doesn't show that. And so that's an area that sometimes education outruns good sense.
So I guess to sum up this morning and be optimistic is that according to what your thoughts are, we will have water for the irrigation season this year, but something has got to be done and solidified during the winter months of 2014 going into 15, or we're going to have the exact same threat again next year. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I think it'll be long before this coming winter. That will be worked on all through this summer, that mitigation plan and how we make that work.
All right. Well,
part of the problem is you go down and you take spring water for one person down there in the springs, take it back up to mitigate for somebody else, and then that person's short, and so then they make a call.
Yeah.
And so we got to take the whole thing rather than just a piece of it.
Well, there's nobody that knows more about it than you do, and God bless you, and I certainly appreciate Maxine Bell and many, many others, and God bless you, and I'll be in touch, and let us know if there's any changes. Would you please, Bert?
Will do, Zed. And the one thing that you need to thank is these groundwater pumpers have been working for years. Have spent a tremendous amount of money trying to develop these recharge sites, and And the surface water people have been helping on those projects. But then you get one of these things that just upsets the apple cart.
Absolutely. Well, my dear friend, you are a gem to have on the program with all this information. Representative Bert Stevenson on the State Water Board. God bless you, Bert. Thanks so much, and I'll see you Saturday over there at the Lincoln Day Banquet.
Okay, thanks, Zeb. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir, very much. Wow. Can you imagine? Just sit and think about this, folks. That, like they said, in harm's way are more than 2,300 water right holders, 14 cities, 5 school districts, irrigators, dairies, Jerome Cheese, Glanbia, and others. And Bert brought an excellent point into the conversation, an excellent point. It also affects the growth factor of any and all communities, whether it's perhaps Jerome, whether it might be Rupert or Burley, for businesses that are looking to possibly come in here. Whoa, wait a minute, they got water problems. Maybe we'd better not check into that area. This has got to be solidified. This has got to be checked out. This has got to be finalized in a way that all of us, and especially our very fragile economy, can continue to hopefully flourish through agriculture. You dry up that many acres and 14 cities and everything else, and we're all out of work.
Here's my question. How can a company call for water rights from a city? I mean, like, okay, let's take, for example, the city of Rupert. City of Rupert was established way back in the day, way before Rangan actually came into the picture. So how can they basically divert the water for a city that's been there prior to Rangan even coming into our area?
The verbiage that's used, and believe me, I am not a water lawyer. I'm not a Norm Simanko.
So that's what I'm asking.
And I'm not definitely in the class of Bert Stevenson or Maxine Bell or others.
Right.
But the water rights were purchased with, it is a prior appropriation. First in line is first in right. And that's what their lawyers are throwing.
Your water rights, things like that.
Yeah, and for me to sit here and say, well, Rupert, Hayburn, Jerome, whatever, and how they're going to get their water or not get their water, etc., I'm not going to go there, because that's something that I'm going to have tomorrow. I'm going to have Norm Simanko come on in and describe exactly that.
Okay.
But the scary thing is, and I talked to some people yesterday that were totally naive and unaware as to how serious this situation is. You take all those towns I mentioned, Hayburn, Rupert, Burley, Declo, Paul, Cary, and going all through the valley.
The entire Magic Valley here. I mean, this is a major agricultural portion of the Magic Valley that's going to be affected by this.
But the key that I wanted to stress is, look at Kay Cameron at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, and look at the excellent job that they have done in trying to bring in more people to look at our area and base a business here. And then all of a sudden this comes up, and you've got a huge question mark over that business owner's head is, whoa, wait a minute, I can't go to that area, they've got water problems.
Exactly, and so that's going to be kind of a mitigating factor as to whether more businesses are going to come in or not.
There you go.
And you've got a phone call.
I'll take that call, but we've got to get the weather in real quick. So caller, have patience with us. The weather is brought to you by our friends at Butte Irrigation, and I mean our friends. Old Bryce and the rest of the crew, they know irrigation. They'll get you wet. They always do. Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West of Paul, and a new location for Butte Irrigation, just a little bit north of Kimberly, right there by Red Cap Corner. And that's on Kimberly Road, Butte Irrigation, serving the entire valley. You talk to the professionals with all the answers for your irrigation. Butte Irrigation, they will get you wet. Here now is Michael Rogers' weather update.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Today it's going to be partly sun with a high of 57 for today. Overnight low will be right around 39. So enjoy the day, where it's going to be partly sunny. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, Michael. Thank you. Butte Irrigation and Paul, and of course a little bit north of Kimberly, right there at Red Cap Corner. They will get you wet. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Well, it's a matter of just like I.B. Prine. He figured out where all the water was coming from, and Twin Falls Tract has, almost, I think, first water rights. And even though eastern Idaho was settled long before Twin Falls was, the water has to flow right past those people up there to furnish first water rights here, so it's a matter of who did the paperwork.
Yeah.
And that's really what it amounts to. So it's a matter of not who was there first, but who actually did the legal filing. And I.B. Perrine was sharp enough that he did that, so that's why the Twin Falls tract gets water in dry years when eastern Idaho dries up, because there at least has a lot less water available. But the more scary part is what's happening in California, is that the feds want to come in and control all the water and supersede everybody. And of course then the United Nations wants to jump on top of that and take water on the whole planet. So we got some real serious problems, and I'm not sure they're going to go away very fast. But I know one thing: if we don't get out of the UN, they're going to have all the water.
Well, hang on just a second. Let's not stretch this too far here. I know you're right, but I don't want to stretch it out any further. Number one, you, of course, make a living in agriculture. You make a living because of farmers being able to have water to grow crops. And you would be a great example to tell everybody how serious something like this really is. I mean, it's not just affecting agriculture.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this state, the reason the economy in Idaho has done so much better than nationwide, say, compared to my friends and relatives back in, say, Ohio, is that agriculture is people like to eat, and we have dairy products and potatoes and sugar beets and corn and beans, dry beans and snap beans here. There's some of these crops are only grown in Idaho in basically large quantities, and so our agriculture economy here is done very well. But obviously, you take away the water, and you're dead. You're dead, literally. I mean, there's just not going to happen. And see what's happening in California. Orchards right now, almond orchards are already dead.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of whether they will die. They're already dead because of the feds controlling the water out there to save it dead, burn, smelt.
And what you're saying is so true, because I was very close to that situation. I do a lot of rodeos down in California, and I know a lot of the families that are very, very big into agriculture in that San Joaquin Valley, and the bitterness and the hatred over that stupid little smelt fish about 1.5 inches long. They were more worried about that than they were the irrigators and holding the water back for all the crops and everything to the richest heartland of America, that San Joaquin Valley. It's absolutely insane, Adrian.
Oh, it is. My first job out of college, I was at Modesto, and that's right there. And I can guarantee you, once 2 years there, I really realized where our food, as far as our fresh fruits and vegetables, oranges, tangerines, you name it, come from. We don't grow those kind of crops here, year-round vegetables, or strawberries and rutabagas, you name it, that we get fresh fruit. You go down to the supermarket and just assume it drops out of heaven, but I can guarantee them it's grown in California.
Well, and the other point is,
California means we don't have any of those fresh fruits and vegetables.
That's right. And the other main point of this scare is naturally Idaho being, I think, another, with the Magic Valley known all over the United States, along like with the San Joaquin Valley in California, for its agricultural progress with the potatoes and the sugar beets and the beans and the alfalfa and everything else. Why, we can't afford that devastation of having nearly 200,000 acres dried up, because, Adrian, the whole economy would go down the tube.
Well, and to add to that, with our short water year looming, and of course still depends on what kind of moisture we get, but we're going to be short unless we have some really super, super big storms coming through here, and at least the immediate forecast doesn't show that, is that we have to put out 427,000 acre feet. That's enough to cover over 200,000 acres with 2 feet of water for irrigation that is wasted to supposedly save the salmon.
Yep, that's right.
And the studies show that it's just we're making salt water out of fresh water.
There you go.
What it amounts to.
That's exactly right. I got to run and do a commercial, but I so much appreciate your call, because you of all are really involved with your products, etc., that you're involved in agriculture. We appreciate your comments. Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Thank you.
Bye.
Tell you what, folks, I don't care if you live in city I don't care where you live. This is something very spooky that I hope and pray, and I underline the word pray, gets settled for the benefit of all. We cannot afford to lose those acreages. Those cities can't afford to lose that water. I mean, it would be devastating. Don't forget the Great Big Founders Celebration goes on for the remainder of this week at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget they are honoring, of course, the founder of the Magic Valley and all of the Les Schwab Tire Centers, Mr. Les Schwab. What a great, great man. And in honor of him, they've got special savings on everything, tires and brake service, etc. You stop in and check it out today. They've got some passenger car tires starting as low as just $39.99. They've got all your tires for your SUVs, your pickups, you name it. Stop in and check out the best in brake value service, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. It all is right there at 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Calls are welcome and appreciated, and I hear you coughing.
Yes, well, okay, so we're going to go back to a previous topic that we were talking about.
Yeah, the
polio-like illness.
Absolutely, and I pulled up some more information here, too.
Mm-hmm. And what I have found that is 5 of the children that were actually tested did have their polio vaccine.
Yep, I just found that one, too, but this is what's scary to me. In the story that was on the news this morning and some other information that I have here, their concerns are that it might be, and this is me talking and these people talking, not the experts, a superbug-type polio carrier. Yes. Does that make sense to you?
It does, and it's called an enterovirus.
Yes.
What it is called, yes.
Yes.
So it's similar to polio, and it is in the same family as polio, but they're not sure exactly where this is and what it is coming from. And I also read in the report that the countries of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria and Australia are showing increases of this particular outbreak.
You know, one of the most hideous things, and I'm almost hesitant to even report on this, but as a journalist, and you are also, you have to be honest with the public, I think. Mm-hmm. There have been reports that Al-Qaeda and terrorists would resort to planting these bugs to affect mankind just to have their terrorist activities carried on.
I would hate to put myself in that mindset. However, we cannot discount it.
Absolutely not.
Because you never know.
No.
You just honestly never know, especially with all of the bioterrorism, the chemical terrorism, things like that. This is extremely possible, and especially if you're looking at the countries where they're having issues with this disease. Well, okay, so my child's sick, so why don't we just send them over to X country, and so we can affect them as well.
You know, Gina, I want to end this segment by saying this again. Folks, really, you're playing Russian roulette with your children.
Yes.
You're playing a game that nobody's going to win. I've been there and I've done that, and I'm still suffering from it. I just basically went through another big, serious operation because of it, and I'm 66 years old. And for parents to just ignore the vaccinations and say, well, no, I don't believe in it, think. Please do not ignore the vaccinations. Polio is raising its ugly head again.
Yeah.
Please.
Agreed. And I will never let my son, every time it's time for him to go in for his vaccinations, he's in there, because I don't want to put him at risk for something that I could have prevented.
On a lighter note, to wrap up the hour, did you watch the closing ceremonies of the Winter Olympics last night at Sochi?
No, I did not.
I did. I watched some of it. And I'm going to say this in all fairness, and I don't think that we cannot be fair in our business. I thought they did a very, very nice job with the closing ceremonies, and even to the point where they poke fun at themselves, the Russians.
Well, sometimes it is all in good humor, and you have to be able to poke fun at yourself, and then it shows that you're rising above the occasion.
Do you remember the 5 rings where one of the rings didn't light up, and it was an embarrassment for the Russians?
Mm-hmm.
Well, last night they had fixed the problem, but they held that one ring's light until just a little bit, and then they let it on, and they all kind of snickered at each other. They had it fixed. But the lights and the great big, very colorful ending, the closing ceremonies, and by the way, if you didn't know, Russia ended up number 1 in medals. United States ended up number 2 in the Winter Olympics. But it's all over. But you know, the number one thing that I'm very prayerful and glad about this morning is that there were no terrorist activities over there.
Amen. Amen. Because, you know, this was kind of the world getting together and saying,
yes.
Okay, you know what, let's set aside all of our differences and let's play some sports.
There you go.
Yeah.
Have we got a busy morning this morning. Next hour, we've got our old buddy from Colorado, Frosty Woolridge, coming on the air. And then at 9:30, we've got Alliance Defending Freedom. Casey Maddox is going to be on. And then also next hour, we've got Cordell Sheridan talking about his big bull sale. Don't miss 10 o'clock this morning, 10:06. We've got James Taylor with the Heartland Institute about how ridiculous Obama and John Kerry are with their global warming facts, which are not. And then also at 10:30 this morning, we're going to have a man that's running for governor for the state of Idaho, Russ Fulcher. All of this and more on Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh my, welcome back, hour number 2 on a Monday, last Monday of February, as a matter of fact. And I'm Zeb Bell, along with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and of course some of our great advertisers, including I Love My Pillow, my memory foam pillow from Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Stop in and see them today. And also our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service. Call Kelly and the crew at 734-6969. And speaking of which, here's Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal is correct, and they've got the Go Minis, the portable storage units. Hey, these are really, really great for moving, for renovations, for storage, for emergencies, everything. You check it out, the Go Minis at Western Waste, along with getting on the route service to get rid of your garbage, all the porta potties, everything, because they are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, serving you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get our guest on the line, I also want to say thank you very much to Joel Heward and his staff at Hanson Mortuary. Wow. I mean, that word wow is just an amazing word to sum up how they care for people and provide the families they serve the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. They really care. When a loved one passes away, everything is in turmoil, and they can help you dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Please let them help. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, the number 436-5636. Well, it's Monday, and I get one of my dearest friends to come back on the program every Monday and discuss various topics. And good morning, Frosty Woolridge. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb, and just fine. You know, just before we get into our presentation today, I would like to invite everyone to go to my beforeitsnews.com article and or newswithviews.com or Freedom's Phoenix. And in that article, I wrote about arrhythmia and stroke, heart attack, and choices. And, of course, many of you know that I lost my father at the age of 46 when I was only 17. I'm actually working on a book. It's titled When Your Father Left Too Soon. And for any of you who lost a father anytime between the ages of 6 or 7 and the age of 18 when it impacted you, I would love to hear you write me. My email address is frostyw@juno.com, and I'm writing this book because I want other people who suffered the loss of a parent through early death like that to express themselves, and I will literally give you a whole chapter, 2,000, 5,000 words, whatever you like. And that book will really make a difference for others who suffer a loss of a father like this. And because it's affected me my whole life, and it's affected my brother Howard, my brother Rex, my sister, and so forth. But anyway, in this article, I also show you how you can avoid a stroke and arrhythmia. You can actually cure arrhythmia with a brilliant doctor, Stephen Sinatra, 33 years, and also as a cardiologist and also as a certified nutrition specialist. And what he came up with is called the Sinatra solution. And it literally shows you, and as a matter of fact, the reason I wrote the piece was because Howard wrote me this past week, and he said since his stroke, my brother Howard had a stroke 2 years ago, he has been on the Sinatra solution, and it's just nutrients, natural nutrients that you take that calm the heart and take it away from and out of arrhythmia. And you can even help yourself stop heart attacks. Well, I share that because he has not had any arrhythmia event since he started the Sinatra solution almost 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who care about a loved one and or otherwise care about preventing arrhythmia naturally and not using chemicals or drugs, I think you will really, really appreciate this information. So I just wanted to share that with your listeners because I know everyone knows someone who's dealing with arrhythmia or heart attack or stroke and so forth, and this is the way to prevent it.
Absolutely, and I appreciate all the information you've sent to us. Frosty, to get into a topic, if you will, this morning, I don't know if you heard about this, and I'm doing as much investigative reporting as I can and trying to find out more, but there is a very mysterious, and this is what spooks me, polio-like illness that has gone into California, and it has paralyzed at least 25 young children so far. It's unknown as to whether it is polio. It has similar symptoms of polio, and with limb paralysis and respiratory difficulties, and it's just exactly like you and I had worried about with the open Swiss cheese borders and people coming in from third world countries that have never honored or taken up on vaccinations. I'm scared, Frosty.
Well, you and I have been talking about this, and I have written about it. I actually wrote about the diseases coming into America because of illegal alien migrants coming in without any investigation or certainly no checking of their physical well-being and their health well-being and so forth. To give you a really sobering look at what's happening to us, a very healthy, and clean civilization, because we had conquered tuberculosis, and we had done so many outstanding things, and now it's coming across the borders at an incredible rate of speed. About 7 or 8 years ago, I wrote a piece on leprosy. Leprosy in the last 50 years had less than 900 cases of leprosy in the United States of America. But because we have imported so many people from India and from other parts of the world where leprosy is a part of their lives, we now have 11,000 cases. In fact, I think it's more than 11,000 cases, and there's about 10 to 15 new clinics in the Northeast. In other words, from Maine down to Georgia, Pennsylvania, and so forth, where all of these immigrants have landed, and now this leprosy is in the United States. 11,000 cases, and that's within the last 10 years now. And so you can also expect that polio has not been conquered around the world, and so we're now bringing in all of these immigrants, and so many of them, they can come in with tuberculosis in the children's lungs. Of course, the leprosy aspect cannot be detected all the time. And so we're literally injecting ourselves with these new diseases. You can Chagas. I'll give you an example, ladies and gentlemen. Chagas. And when I was in South America for a year on my bicycle ride, if I had known about this Chagas, I would have tightened up my tent flaps every day and made sure I wasn't exposed to it. But It's a little tick, sort of a bug that it's called the kissing bug, kissing disease. And when you sleep at night, this little Chagas injects this little bug. It's a kissing bug, and I forget the name of it. It injects a parasite into your body. They're called a Chagas parasite. And this thing then attacks your heart and or your organs. And there are over 50,000 South Americans that suffer from Chagas disease. And it's 14 million. It's 14 million people suffer from Chagas disease. They've been injected with the parasite, and about 40 to 50,000 die every year. And that's been shown. That has been validated by a man named Carlos, and he wrote he called the Kissing Bug Death book. You can look it up online. So. As you know, South Americans from Brazil, to South Americans from Ecuador, South Americans are streaming over our borders illegally, and of course, many of them are carrying the Chagas disease. And in fact, I don't know how many deaths have been attributed to it, but if they give blood, it's not detectable. And so some people who have gotten heart transplants in Los Angeles have died from Chagas disease. We are injecting our country with third world diseases from this mass immigration, both legally and illegally, Zeb.
Yeah, I know it. And here's something else that I don't even want to report on. And I said it last hour to Gina, and I'll mention it to you because there was reports over the weekend that Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations are these vermin that are called human beings are going to try to implement a kind of a bug implementation system into the terrorist ranks. In other words, like polio, etc. Has humankind got this low? I mean, Frosty, I just sit here and I shake my head as to how low human beings can be to human beings.
Well, unfortunately, human beings have done this down through time. The settlers that came into America introduced smallpox into the Indian tribes and killed them off at a horrific rate. The sailors who went into the Sandwich Islands with all those Samoans introduced venereal diseases, which they had never had before. So this is nothing new. Because humans, tribes that are always fighting each other, or trying to gain turf, trying to gain countries. We started mustard gas. Mustard gas was used in World War II, and it's just unbelievable what that stuff does. The lucite poison, you name it.
Look at pardon my interruption, but look at the nerve gases.
Nothing new. It's just a new part of the terror that humans commit on each other, and this is just the 21st century part of it. And we now know that that anyone can use diseases, inject diseases, and poison the water, etc., in order to beat or defeat the enemy. And of course, Muslims and Islam has made the whole world its enemy, and it does whatever it can, and even to itself. Whether you look at Syria right now, or you look at any of these Muslim situations that are going against each other, they use horrific. Saddam Hussein poisoned the Kurds with gassing, so it's pretty ugly on so many fronts.
And when you look at the world situation, and I know I'm off on away from our normal tangent on this interview, but Frosty, when you look at the world situation with North Korea, and now you look at the Ukraine, and you look at these people that are suffering, and now hundreds dead, and the turmoil and the unrest all across the world, and I'm just amazed that humanity can be this stupid. You realize that?
Well, I am too, because if we would only just get down to the table and talk across the table, but there's always been tyrants, there's always been Saddam Husseins, there's always been Hitlers, there's always been Stalins, there's always been Mao Zedong, there's always been some of these characters. The right of democracy in a constitutional republic has pretty much been rare throughout history, and all dictators. I mean, look at Saudi Arabia. It's a complete dictatorship. If you look at most of those third world countries, look at Mugabe in Zimbabwe. total dictatorship, and the guy's 90 years old, but he's got an iron fist on all of those people in that country, and he's killed. God only knows how many people that man has killed. So this has been a part of the human situation and the condition. I can tell you this, and I think I'm pretty right on the money. If we keep injecting the projected 100 million immigrants into this country, we're going to be so fractured as a country that we're going to have the same violent clashes. It's already happened in Sweden last year. The Muslims in Sweden, they're screaming about racism and everything else, but they don't talk about the fact that they're raping all of the Swedish girls, and that they're disrupting the schools so much that you can't even learn anymore. Same thing going on in Norway, and certainly UK and Paris and so forth. So we really have, and even Canada has, and Australia is in the process of injecting so many cultures that are so incompatible that they too, and we too, at some point will see violent clashes in our country with these incompatible cultures and people that think on a totally different plane of life than we do.
I agree with that. And you know something, the old terminology, the melting pot of America, well, when something melts, it all runs together. That concept is gone. We're no longer a melting pot. We're letting these people come in and basically start their own little mini countries. Look at Michigan. Look at Detroit. Look at the Muslim problems around that part of the country. We're not melting anymore into a nation of solidarity and a nation of one. Believe me, somebody cut off the warmth to the bottle, because it's no longer the melting pot that it used to be.
Well, that's great. As a matter of fact, one of the governors, Richard D. Lamb, whom I know quite well, he called it, we're turning the country into a salad bowl, a mixed salad bowl, where really nothing comes together. It's just all fragmented and different kinds of ingredients. Very much, I've used as a fact that what we've done to ourselves is like when a chemistry teacher leaves a chemistry class and he lets the kids sit there and start mixing all the ingredients. So they start throwing, unknowingly, all of these different chemicals or ingredients into a beaker. And of course, there's always a little flame under the beaker to see what happens with them. And either the beaker blows up and or it boils over. No one really knows what's going to happen. But I can tell you from past experiences, and whether it's I think it was Jared Diamond wrote the book Guns, Steel, and Germs. He got a Pulitzer Prize from that. When you mix these different these different cultures and these different people from completely alien cultures and languages and ways of looking at the world, you're going to get a result just like those kids in the chemistry room. And I think we are very much headed toward a very fractured and fragmented country with all of this multiculturalism and this diversity that is literally destroying the foundation of our civilization and the foundation of our culture and certainly of our language. So we can look over there at Ukraine right now, but I'll tell you right now, I think I'm a pretty good historian and an observer, and having been a world traveler and continuing to travel the world, I think we're in for the same fate as the Ukraine is at some point in the future.
I agree. Excuse me for coughing in your ear. On a lighter note, to wrap things up this morning, were you one of the duped Americans like I was yesterday watching the Daytona 500, or did you not see the race?
You know, I actually was out riding my bicycle yesterday, and the one thing that I was thrilled with, and I don't watch race cars, I don't watch the Daytona 500. In fact, I did watch the Daytona 500 and the Indianapolis 500 once, and I was down there and camping out in the Indianapolis 500 and also the Daytona, and my God, it's just a bunch of drunks having a great time for the weekend and somebody racing cars around a circle. I actually would rather watch the Olympics. I was so proud of this little girl named Schifrin, 18 years old, who won the downhill slalom and skiing, and all those young athletes and all just the great hearts and so forth. So for me, the Olympics was really the weekend excitement, and also I just go out there and participate myself, and the rest of those people run around. Anything could happen, so it is. But I don't know too much.
Well, let me tell you what happened, and it happened to me. I'm one of those that was duped. I love auto racing. I love NASCAR. And the race was stopped after the 36th lap because of a severe thunderstorm that hit the area. Okay, so I turned it off. I went outside. I spent the next 2 hours just kind of doing other things. I came back in and turned it on, and the race is going on, and then all of a sudden it's over, and Jimmy Johnson is the winner. However, during the time of the rain delay, Fox News and Fox Sports replayed last year's race where Jimmy Johnson was the winner, and a lot of Americans that left and came back like I was, they thought that was the race, and the race started later and went into the evening, and Dale Earnhardt was the actual winner.
Well, the TV directors and producers, they get to do whatever they do, and whatever that might have been, and that's what happened. And the thing is, nowadays, if you look at the news and you look at all the different things going on, Entertainment Tonight and so forth, I mean, it's just crazy out there. I think in the end, if you love race car driving and race car races, and that's great, or you like the Olympics, or you like hockey, or whatever, enjoy your sport and everything else that goes with it. And then if something's gone crazy or whatever, it goes crazy, you just have to live your own life and do the best you can with your own life. And I pretty much try to just do that. I live my life daily and enjoy the sidelights, and I guess that's all you can do, Zeb.
Well, one thing I want to say about the Winter Olympics, though, Frosty, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that of all the Russian versus the Ukraine and the United States and a Cold War with Russia and Russia doing this and that and Putin, etc., I thought that the Olympic Games, and I was so thankful that they were safe, there were no terrorist events, and it really came off without too much of a hitch. I've got a minute left. Your response.
Oh, and you know me, and both of you and I are athletes, whether you're riding a horse or playing football, or I played football, playing racquetball, playing tennis, riding my bicycle, mountain bike racing, and so forth. The great joy in life is to participate, and I don't care if it's ice fishing, I don't care if it's macrame. I respect everyone and their pursuit of their passions. And so the great Olympics, it's a chance for the world to come together. And it really isn't, in the end, who wins the most medals from which country. It's about those kids out there. Because I'm still a kid at heart myself, and I still race mountain bike races, and I still get on the line, and I get excited. I go dancing in competition with Sandy. Sandy and I dance in competitions. It's just a great participation of life. And so I really just celebrate the Olympics and every kid in there, no matter what country they came from, and that we all got to enjoy the wonderful feeling and the heart of winning and losing and crying and laughing and all that goes with it. So that to me is the joy of life, and the Olympics brings that out, and I celebrate the Olympics and everyone who participates.
Absolutely. My dear friend from Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woldridge, on a Monday. We'll see you next Monday, and thanks so much, Frosty. Have a great day.
God bless you, Zeb, and God bless everyone. And again, check out that whole piece I did on arrhythmia, stroke, and heart attacks, because you really can do something to save a loved one by using the Sinatra solution. So
absolutely. Thank you, my dear friend. Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. Thank you. Don't forget, when you think about life insurance, and you should, and you think about health insurance, and you'd better, retirement planning, employee benefits, everything you need for protection, please also think about two gentlemen that can absolutely help you. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, very responsive and dedicated to your needs. All you have to do is call them at Cameron and Siemens at 436-4424. Please don't put that off. Call them today. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, 436-4424. Hey, by the way, in about maybe, 15, 20 minutes, we're going to be talking to Cordell Sheridan up on the mountain, and he's going to tell us about his 19th annual bull sale coming up this next Saturday, March 1st at 1 p.m. at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard. And believe me, this is a ripping good sale. These are range-raised bulls, and their weaning weights are usually about 650 pounds or better. And I'll tell you what, they've spent a lifetime producing this great herd of cattle. It's coming up this next Saturday, March 1st, the 19th annual Sheridan Ranch Bull Sale at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard at 1 p.m. Don't you miss it, okay? In just a moment, we're going to be visiting with Casey Maddox with the Alliance Defending Freedom. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. As a matter of fact, I just talked to Brent Lee during one of the breaks this morning. Oh, my goodness, they've got that Flex Steel furniture, absolutely America's seating specialist, all their home furniture products, and believe me, they have the very best. Oh, the Flex Steel is just beautiful, and they, at Lee's Furniture, have an ample supply to show you of the beautiful Flex Steel furniture right on their showroom floor, along with all their bedroom sets and all their sofas and all their recliners and, of course, all the carpeting, and don't forget all the very, very comfy mattresses. Everything for your home beautification and comfort at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Right now, we're going to go to the phone lines and visit with Casey Maddox, along with the Alliance Defending Freedom. And good morning, Casey. How are you?
Zeb, I'm doing quite well. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you back on the show. Casey, we were going to talk about one subject, but I know that Carrie down at your office made a change and said that we're going to be talking about the Religious Freedom Bill in Arizona. And this is something that, quote-unquote, is exploding all across of America. I'll let you kind of give a brief synopsis of what it is, and then I'll start asking questions. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Well, what's happening right now is the focal point of this is in Arizona, but it's something we're seeing around the country. And for years we were told that if we allowed same-sex marriage, that we would not see any diminishing of religious freedom rights for others. And now we're seeing that that was a lie. Because what's happening is in Arizona, people are trying to simply make sure that the government can't enforce its demands on people's conscience. And the response to that is to lie about this bill. And we're seeing similar moves across the country. CNN and other outfits are simply spreading falsehoods about these sorts of bills that simply protect religious freedom.
Let me ask you this, Casey. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change my value system the way I was raised and brought up in a Christian home. I'm not going to change what the Bible says to me about this circumstance. I'm not going to change. But every single day we see a weakening. We see these are good old boys. We've got to accept them and their filthy lifestyle. We're seeing the NFL. We're seeing the NBA. We're seeing a forced culture of acceptance on gay, lesbians, and transgenders. And the rest of us that still believe in Christian principles, we're being ostracized and literally thrown to the lions. Am I wrong in saying it that way?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with the big problem that's facing us. Government is a problem, but the biggest problem in this battle right now is other believers who are believing the lies. And a perfect illustration of that in Arizona right now is the way this a protection for religious liberty, which simply mirrors a federal bill which the ACLU once supported, is being described as a Jim Crow law for homosexuals. It's a complete lie. No one is talking about refusing service at a lunch counter to homosexual persons. What we're talking about is someone who is a Christian wedding photographer, for example, who says, look, I will photograph people regardless of their orientation, but I don't want to celebrate a same-sex wedding. The government has absolutely no business in telling citizens what they can say and what they can't say and what they have to say. That's exactly what's going on here. If you're a believer facing this situation, regardless of what you think about the theology, the idea that you're going to allow the government to force people to comply with what the government's view is should be antithetical to everybody.
Well, Casey, I'm a little confused here, and I'm just a big old cowboy, and you're the lawyer. You know everything. You're the Matlock of this situation. If a sign is on the front of a business, no shirt, no shoes, no service, isn't that being discriminatory, the same as what they say a business like this photographic company or a cake baking company? Don't businesses still have the right of refusal?
Well, they certainly should, and that's exactly right. I mean, what's happening here is not a situation where someone is saying, we don't want homosexual persons coming into our lunch counter or in our restaurant or anything like that. That's not what's happening. What we're talking about is a bill that would protect people from having to use their creative talents to actively participate. Imagine this circumstance. Imagine you have a Christian web designer being forced to create a website for a pornography company. It's unbelievable what we are seeing right now in this effort to promote the government over individual conscience, and it has to be stopped.
Okay, but we're being ostracized and being made fun of and being thrown to a much lower standard of humanity by the ACLU and by the government and by others. The minute you stand up for Christian beliefs and apply those to also your Christian ethics in your business, they're going to come after you, Casey, so how do we fight back?
They absolutely will. There's no question about it, that as soon as you make it known what you believe, you're going to face opposition. And that's why we have to stay together. You have to have believers who are refusing to believe the lies that are being spread about this bill and things like it, and will actually do the research, find out what's actually really happening, and will support religious freedom. This is about religious freedom for everybody, not just for Christians. This is it as much protects, for that matter, the homosexual who doesn't want to actively participate in photographing a Westboro Baptist Church event that celebrates them. This protects everybody, and that's what we should be promoting in this country, freedom for everyone.
I guess where I'm really confused, and I keep going back to this point, and pardon me for beleaguering it, but the right of refusal as a business. If you don't want to do business with someone or some group, or going back to the door sign saying no shirt, no shoes, no service, why do I, if I'm a photography company or whatever, I just don't want to be involved in that? I can politely say, I'm sorry, but your viewpoints are a little different than mine, and so therefore I would like to say no for this business, but have you tried so-and-so? Maybe you can get them to do the job. What's wrong with a referral away from you so that your beliefs are not diminished?
Exactly right. That's exactly what we should have. And in fact, that protects the rights. Imagine the homosexual in this circumstance. It's not in their interest to have someone who will be morally conflicted about celebrating their same-sex wedding to photograph or provide the flowers for it or do whatever. If you're in their situation, you'd much prefer to be able to know up front that I need to find someone else who's going to not be morally conflicted and will therefore be able to do a better job. So it's really, this is in favor of freedom for everyone. The only people who would support the idea of forcing people to violate their conscience, it doesn't do anything for those who are trying to demand it. It just is a way to marginalize Christians in this country. That's what we're seeing, and the falsehoods, the misinformation. We see media misinformation all the time. The incredible lengths to which it has gone in this particular situation are really unfathomable.
Absolutely. We have a call with a quick question. Go ahead, caller, real fast. Thank you. Caller, quickly, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, I can barely hear you. We just come to thought when you're talking about this that it comes to me that people who are homosexuals that's getting married and want Kate's faked and they're refused, it seems to me they purposely went out in mind to try to find fault with somebody who they knew that weren't going to do it. It wasn't about the quality or anything. It was about trying to find fault and trying to pick an argument with somebody, knowing that in the beginning that it just wasn't something they wanted to do. I'll get off the air. Thanks.
Casey, you want to respond to that caller?
Right. That's exactly right, and we have seen circumstances exactly like that where people have intentionally sought out opportunities to attack people. It's not as if we have a dearth of florists or cake bakers or wedding photographers in this country. So there's really no reason other than to intentionally go after someone and make an example of them. And that's what we're seeing.
I'm just sitting here thinking about the photographer that's pushed and harassed into doing a ceremony of homosexual marriages, same-sex marriages. I can see where if it were me and it was absolutely against my beliefs, which it is, after the whole thing was over, I'd go, oops, I left the lens cap on. Sorry. But, why would they force and coerce somebody to do a job where they're not going to do their best job?
That's exactly right. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And why should, the big question, why should the government be involved in forcing people to have to speak and exercise their creative talents in a way that violates their conscience? We're talking about thousands of dollars in fines that are imposed here. This isn't a theoretical question. There are real people whose businesses are being undermined, who are facing thousands of dollars in fines because of their refusal to comply with a government-enforced orthodoxy.
I'm sitting here, our numbers, your faith, my faith, are we so weak in numbers, or are we so weak in voice that we're not being heard?
I think there are a lot of believers who have succumbed to the idea that it's possible that if they're just quiet enough and if they will just go along enough, that there will come an end. And the truth is that the people on the other side here define themselves as progressive, and despite the fact that it's is not remotely progressive, it's in fact a very anti-freedom mindset. When they think of themselves as progressive, there is no end to the progression that they're going to favor.
Yeah.
They're not going to stop. They're going to keep coming. And so we have to be able to stand strong in our faith. We have to resist where it's appropriate in love. But we have to resist and to stand up for our freedoms because this is the battle of our age.
It is. Absolutely, it is. Underline the words, it is. I agree with you. Casey Maddox, tell everybody how they can follow this case and also find out more information about the Alliance Defending Freedom.
Sure. Well, you can come to alliancedefendingfreedom.org. That's probably the best place to get more information about this and other matters we're working on around the country.
Be sure and make a little asterisk by my name and this program and come back and give us updates on this. Would you please, Casey? I really respect what you're doing. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thank you, Zeb.
Take care. Have a great day. I mean, the coercion of the gays and the lesbians and the transgenders to force people to accept their ways, their sick, perverted ways, as a normalcy, it's just beyond me. Absolutely beyond me, and I'm going to fight it every chance I get. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget our friends at Let's Ride. Oh, hello, Nick. Hello, everybody over there at Let's Ride. They're closed on Mondays, but they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, and they have the biggest selection of side-by-sides at Let's Ride in the entire state of Idaho. That's not bragging. That's a fact. You get over there and you'll find out what I mean. And they've got ATVs. Oh, open that showroom door, look inside and go, holy buckets, look. How'd they get them all in there? And they've got dirt bikes for the young at heart. They've got everything, and the watercraft are coming in because they're getting ready for spring. Oh, my. It's where the fun is sold. Let's Ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 9 to 6. Let's Ride. I love that place. Oh, right now it's time for a Michael Rogers weather update, and we'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Today it's going to be partly sun with a high of 57 for today. Overnight low will be right around 39. So enjoy the day where it's going to be partly sunny. Enjoy the weather. Tell me what you got.
I love it. I'll tell you what, this weather forecast for this week, not too shabby, and I appreciate it. MichaelRogersWeather.com right here on Zeb at the Ranch. In just a moment, I'm going to check with my lovely board operator, Gina Jameson, and see if we have Cordell Sheridan on the line. Would you let me know when he's there?
He's here.
Oh, already, my goodness, the magic of your touch-tone phone. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got a lot of respect for this man. I've got a lot of respect for his cattle, and he raises them right. It's Cordell Sheridan with the 19th Annual Bull Sale coming up this March 1st, Saturday at 1 p.m. at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard. Good morning, Cordell. How are you?
I'm doing good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm glad that we got you on the phone this morning because you've got another ripping good sale coming up this Saturday. Tell us a little bit about some of the highlights.
Well, we're going to have about 70 bulls this year. Around 20 of them are going to be coming 2-year-old bulls, and the rest will be yearlings. We've got the Gelby cattle this year. That's kind of been our mainstay, how we got started. And then we have Angus bulls also. We've been in the Angus business for probably 10 or so years. Mm-hmm. And then we have the Balancer bulls, which is a combination of the two breeds. It's a registered breed through the Gelby Association, and they're really popular. They've kind of brought the best of both breeds together, and people are using them and really liking those.
All right, now, and let me ask you this, Cordell. What makes your bulls a little bit better than other bulls? Is it because they've been raised out in the rocks and they know how to travel?
That's probably a big part of it. We've been selling bulls, into Nevada and northern Utah and southern Idaho, and I just talked to a guy from Fallon, Nevada the other day that bought about 5 bulls, and he was really excited about how the bulls had held up so well on his range there in northern Nevada. He said that when they gathered, they were all out up in the high country with the cows and in good shape. They'd actually grew while they were out there, besides getting the cows all bred.
Well, now, let's talk a little bit about your weaning weights. It sounds like you really are taking care of these cattle, and these are big dudes. Their weaning weights are what, usually around 650 pounds or better?
Yeah. With the Gelby influence, they're a maternal breed. They have a little more milk than most breeds, but yet they have the fertility so they can milk really well and still breed back. Our philosophy is a cow needs to wean 50% of her body weight in her calf. So if you got a 1,200-pound cow, she needs to wean a 600-pound calf, or it's up or down. Either way, they still need to do 50%, and our cows are able to do that in range environment and up here in the rough rocks and the high country.
Okay, now, what about pre-information on the sale, and especially on the bulls? Can they go to a website and get some more information before they go to the sale on Saturday?
Right. Our website is www.sheridancattle.com.
Okay, and that gives...
we have our herd bulls listed on there, and we also have the whole sale catalog is on there. It's downloadable, so they can go there and download catalog or look at the catalog right online.
Okay.
And there's contact information if they'd like us to send them one catalog. We can do that still.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about the sale itself. It's the 19th annual bull sale, and that ought to tell people you've been there for a long time. You're a quality bull breeder, and you've got the best in cattle. 19 years, that's quite a tribute. And it's going to start at 1 p.m. at the Burley Auction Yard. Now, give us a little basics on how the sale is going to be run.
Well, it's going to be kind of a typical bull sale. We'll start probably with the older bulls and sell those, and then get into the yearling bulls. We'll probably sort out the different breeds a little bit so that there'll be a group of each come through one after the other, so that if somebody wants to buy one or the other, they can have that opportunity kind of close together.
Mm-hmm. All right, now there's a first-year breeding season guarantee. What does that mean?
Well, we guarantee the bulls will hold up. It's kind of a partnership deal. The buyer pays 4% of the purchase price as they're part of the insurance, on the bull. And if anything happens to the bull during the first breeding season, if they're injured and they can't be used, we'll replace the bull. Or if they die, we'll replace the bull in the next year's sale. Or if we have a bull available at that time, we can replace him right then. But if not, they've got credit in our next year's sale to replace that bull.
Okay, and then
usually when something happens to the bulls is in that first breeding season. They're kind of young and dumb, and that seems like when they usually get injured.
Okay. Now, there's something else you do that I think is, in this day and age, really a unique treat for other people. You've got free delivery of these bulls up to 300 miles. That's something a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, I like to get out and deliver the bulls to people's ranches and get to know them a little better and kind of see what their environment's like, and can maybe, help suggest bloodlines for them in the future and stuff like that. It's just good for me to get out and see them. And then, but if people want to come to the sale and bring their trailer, they get a $25 a head discount on every bull they buy. So,
okay. All right, and
also.
All right, and then I guess even though I'm on a diet, I still love food. You got a complimentary lunch too.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Patty, my wife, she puts together a pretty good feed every year, and we'd like to invite everybody to be sure to come early enough that they can get lunch and still look through the bulls.
All right. Now, did I miss anything? Go ahead, Cordell. Tell me, give me kind of a recap. Did I miss anything about this big sale coming up?
Well, got a couple other things about our cattle I'd like to tell you about. Our philosophy is we don't breed for any extremes. We like to kind of stay middle of the road on the frame size of the cattle or performance. If some operations breed for extreme growth and things like that, and you run into calving problems if you get too much growth into the cattle, or you can even get an extreme for calving if people start breeding real light birth weight bulls and compounding those pedigrees. They eventually end up breeding the pelvis right out of the cows, end up with cows that have small calves, but they have to have small calves.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't chase the extremes. We like to stay middle of the road, so our cattle work for anybody. We cater to, or like to work towards, a lot of the big ranches that buy our bulls, they calve out. They don't watch their cows when they're calving, and so we make sure the birth weights are right so they don't have any problems there. But we've been using some of the better bloodlines in the breeds. We've used Keneally Consensus, Midian Focus, and Varsity Warrior Angus bulls.
Okay.
Great Western and Passion in the Gelby bloodlines, which are all some of the top, bloodlines of the breeds right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds to me, and I know this to be a fact because you've done this for 19 years and you're well respected in the industry, that this is going to be another good sale. 19th annual bull sale for Sheridan Ranches. It's going to be this coming Saturday, March 1st at 1 p.m. at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard. Cordell Sheridan, and they've got 20 head of coming 2-year-olds and 50 head mature yearlings. And this man really knows his cattle. And I wish you the very best and have a great sale, Cordell. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Zeb. Appreciate it, and thanks for helping me out here today.
Now that you're back in the house on the landline, you get outside and get to work, and don't you go watching those soap operas, okay?
Well, there's one that I really have to watch, though, Zeb. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be gone in just a minute as soon as I hang up.
All right. Cordell Sheridan, God bless you, man. Thanks so much. Good luck on the sale.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very nice to know that, man, because he really puts a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears into his bulls and his cattle and does a great job. And that big bull sale, again, going to be at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard this coming Saturday, March 1st, and it's the Sheridan Ranch 19th Annual Bull Sale. Don't you miss it. We'll take some calls. Love to hear from you this morning. And don't forget that we have the Chadwick Sports Grill. Oh, I love this place. I love this place. What have they got for today? They got a salmon spring salad, and it also comes along with soup. Oh, very tasty. And you know where the Chadwick Sports Grill is, on the corner of Main and Oakley, 139 West Main and Burley. And they're open Monday through Thursday, 11 to 9, Friday and Saturday, 11 to 10. And the food is just fantastic. And takeouts are welcome at the Chadwick Sports Grill. You stop in and see them today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the way, in just a few moments after the 10 o'clock news, we're going to have a gentleman on the air that knows more. He's an expert. This man is an expert. He has been studying global warming almost all his career. And he's connected with the Heartland Institute back in the Midwest, and we're going to talk about global warming or climate change, whichever you prefer. I just wanted to pass this along to you, and I know that Gina probably is inquiring minds want to know that Fargo, North Dakota, today will have a high of 1 degree.
Woo!
Break out the bikini there, kitty.
In Fargo, North Dakota? No, wow, it's windy, snowy, and 1 degree has got to be like a plus for them.
You know what, though? There's a lot of lakes and everything back in that country. When you think about it, I'll bet you swimwear is something that is not a big sales item back there.
Probably not.
When you think of almost February 1st and 1 degree for a high, and I can just imagine a store in downtown Fargo having bikini sale. Yeah, right.
More like a clearance on last year's stock because they haven't been able to sell it yet. Oh, my goodness. Too cold. 1 degree is way too cold for me.
All the water that's back there between Minnesota and Fargo. Have you ever driven that road between the Fargo airport going into Minnesota? You got to watch the road, the main highway. You take a curve, you could end up in some lake. I mean, you talk about Minnesota being the land of 10,000 lakes. I don't think they've counted them all. I think there's more like 20 million there. Wherever you drive in that stretch from the Fargo airport over to Minnesota, headed towards Minneapolis, St. Paul, it's water everywhere. It's no wonder it's so doggone cold back there.
Lots of ice skating going on. We should go ice skating, Zeb.
The Norwegians, yes, Gina and Zebby, we're going to go play in the ice.
You know, I've always wanted, when I was a little girl, and of course because the Olympics just wrapped up, I always wanted to be a figure skater. Obviously, I'm not that graceful and not very good on skates.
How did that Russian win?
How did
she win with a flub and a fall and beat the others?
Yeah, what made me mad is I thought that Ashley Wagner had it in the free skate. I thought she had it. It was a perfect skate.
Yeah.
But it was because it was the hometown crowd.
And now they find out that some of the judges, two of the judges, one had been accused and basically indicted for cheating in the past, and another one was related to the winner.
So you think that there was just a little bit of favoritism going on there?
Would it be wrong to say that, hey, babe, the fix was in?
And did you see the slam that Ashley Wagner had put out the day after? Because honestly, I honestly thought she had it. It was a beautiful skate, absolutely technically perfect. She didn't fall. She hit all of her marks, everything. And then for the Russian to win after she had made mistakes and she had fallen, I was just flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Flabbergasted. So I think that there was some buyouts going on.
Well, the Ruskies, they've been known to do something a little bit under the table in the past, and they wanted that medal count so bad in their favor, and they did end up with more medals than we did. We came in number 2.
Well, I still had a lot of fun watching the Olympics. Some of the judging aspects, especially within the figure skating, not too thrilled with, but I guess it is what it is. But I gained some respect for some new sports.
There you go. All right, well, we're going to be back with more next hour. Don't miss it.
we've got Randy Golay on the phone for you.
I'm flat out of time, Randy. I'm sorry. I've got to get to the news. We've only got a minute left, and I'll catch you next hour. Hopefully we'll have some time. We'll be back in 6 minutes. Zeb at the Ranch. Don't go away. Oh, boy. Here we go. Hour number 3. Kind of partly cloudy, or if you're on the positive side, partly sunny outside this morning. And Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Service the key word, and along with some of our great friends as advertisers. And that's Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And, of course, our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. You start on the route service, get rid of your garbage, call them at 734-6969. I have been trying to get this gentleman on the program for a long time. I've got the utmost respect for him and his knowledge. And I'm going to say good morning with the Heartland Institute to James M. Taylor, the managing editor of Environment and Climate News. Sir, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing, Zeb?
Well, of course, that's up for discussion. I mean, my goodness, you're probably standing on frozen Lake Michigan, which, by the way, has more ice this year than ever before. But the government and Obama are saying that we have a climate change problem, and it is a fact, quote unquote.
It's so interesting because in the latest United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, which we are told is the climate Bible that all the world's climate scientists agree is fact and therefore should give us cause for alarm about our climate. The IPCC report says that we should see fewer and less extreme cold fronts, cold spells coming from the Arctic. So now we see here in our current winter, cold spell after cold spell after cold spell, and now the global warming activists try to tell us this is caused by global warming. They need to debate each other and figure out what the storyline's going to be and then try to sell it to the rest of us.
James, now tell me something, and you heard Obama. He stood up there at the State of the Union and said global warming or climate change is a fact. And then what really got me mad, and I got to take a minute just to give this to you, what really frosted me was John Kerry over in Indonesia standing up and calling people like me and you flat earthers and stupid because we didn't go along with climate change. What was your reaction when you heard Mr. Ketchup Man, John Kerry, make those remarks?
What a buffoon. What an ignorant buffoon. And I mean that at its literal meaning in terms of him being ignorant because, for example, at the Heartland Institute, we have sponsored 8 global warming conferences in which we've brought in scientists from prestigious research institutions, universities, etc., around the world, explaining why humans are not creating a global warming crisis. We have scientists from NASA, from NOAA, from Harvard, from MIT, from Columbia, from Princeton, you name it. These are atmospheric scientists, climate scientists, who tell us that, sure, humans are likely causing a little bit of warming, but this is nowhere near a crisis. We're still cooler than temperatures have been for most of the past several thousand years. And then you have some buffoon like John Kerry going up and calling these scientists at NASA, NOAA, Harvard, MIT, etc., flat earthers because they don't agree with his politics on the issue. Yeah, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, but no, wait a minute. Stop for a second, James, and let me just throw this at you. What is the purpose? Honestly, I think I know the purpose, but I want you to elaborate on it. For Obama and, potentially he wanted cap and trade, and he didn't get that, and now he's got climate change. They just changed the words. And John Kerry to go over to Indonesia and say we're flat earthers and stupid because we don't believe in climate change. What is the purpose that they're trying to achieve through a lessening of carbon? It's just going to weaken America and lower our status. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. There are many reasons why many of these folks oppose carbon dioxide emissions and want to restrict our economy. The Sierra Club just put out a statement that they believe that we should reduce economic growth, and that would be good for the environment. So certainly capping carbon dioxide emissions, making electricity more expensive is going to do that. If you're a politician and you say that there is this tremendous threat to the nation and the world that you are going to solve, well, that always sells politically. If you're an environmental activist group, it's great for raising money. And if you are one of the folks who receives government grants to study the issue. So long as you say there's an ongoing problem, there is going to be an ongoing flow of grant money. And then, of course, you just have people who ideologically just love greater government control, more restrictions on human liberty and freedom, and see this as an opportunity to shift money and power away from people into government.
I have a hard time, and I'm going to be very blatant and very forthright. I'm a Christian, and I believe that only God has his hand on the thermostat and not controlled by mankind. And I sit here and I look at, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that we as a country, 350 million people in round figures, are emitting about 6%, 6 lousy percent of the emissions of pollution in the world, and China and India couldn't care less. What we do here is not going to cause any change in anything. Am I wrong?
Well, what's real interesting is when you look at the carbon dioxide emissions data, China alone emits more carbon dioxide than the entire Western Hemisphere combined, all the nations in North and South America. U.S. emissions have been declining since the start of this century, while at the same time, during that same span, Chinese emissions have been growing dramatically. Their emissions are growing by more than 10% per year. So globally, emissions have risen 33%. Chinese emissions have more than doubled. U.S. emissions are declining, and we're told, number one, that there is this impending global warming doom and gloom, and that number two, it's the United States that must act unilaterally to prevent this.
Yeah.
Well, even if we could theoretically completely eliminate our carbon dioxide emissions today, in less than 10 years, just new growth in emissions from China would render that elimination of our carbon dioxide emissions moot, pointless. And yet you still have the same big government, anti-American, anti-economic growth people saying that the United States needs to act unilaterally to reduce our emissions, to eliminate our emissions. And it's like if I'm traveling to Phoenix, and if I lose my car keys somewhere in my travels, I decide that I want to look for my car keys in, say, San Francisco, because I like the city better. I'm not going to find my car keys in San Francisco. I wasn't even there. It's the same thing about our carbon dioxide emissions. The United States is reducing our emissions, and we're a small player.
How do these people, these so-called experts, and by the way, Al Gore, John Kerry, Barack Obama, none of them have a climatology history as far as college is concerned. How do these people get away with this? How do they get away with a straight face of lying to the public using like that percentage figure of 97% of scientists? That is a blatant lie. Maybe they had 100 scientists in their back pocket and 97% said, yeah, there is global warming. But when I've talked to scientists, I don't care whether it's from any university or college around this country, they're not in the hip pocket of saying, no, they don't believe in global warming. They think it's a cyclical event and that we're going into a cyclical cooling trend. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, you make a few good points there. First of all, regarding the 97% assertion, this is real interesting. There are only 2 polls or surveys that come up with this 97% number. Both of those, you have a cherry-picked group of scientists. But even if we overlook that, in each of those surveys, you had 2 questions that were asked. Number one, have temperatures warmed during the past 100 years? Well, I've been telling people that. Skeptics will tell you that. We're no longer in the Little Ice Age. Our warming started long before humans started emitting significant quantities of carbon dioxide. Question number 2 was, have humans played some role in this? Well, I'll tell you that, and nearly all skeptics will. Those aren't the issues that divide alarmists and skeptics. So they take these 2 meaningless questions, and then they assert falsely that what these 2 cherry-picked polls show is that 97% of the world's climate scientists say we need to act now. Now, when I point that out to the media, when I point out to, whether it be television stations, radio stations, print media outlets, they never publish a correction or call them on it. That's how they get away with it. That's how Barack Obama, John Kerry, et cetera, get away with it, is because they have a compliant lapdog media that agrees with their anti-energy, anti-economic growth, pro-environmental activism policies, so that folks like you and me can point out the truths, but the media won't cover them. But the reason why I'm more optimistic than most people are is that this isn't 30, 40 years ago. 30 or 40 years ago, we would have no recourse when the media plays lapdog to these lies. Now we have the internet. Now we have cable television, cable news. Now we have radio programs such as your own. So your listeners, people that I speak to, can go up and find the information for themselves. And that's why oftentimes when I'm giving global warming talks, the people in the audience will say, great talk, Mr. Taylor, but you left out this point or that point that supports what we're saying too. I don't have time to bring up all the points, but people are more informed than they were 30 or 40 years ago, and that's why I believe the truth will win out.
Well, okay, I agree with you, and believe me, James, I'll do anything on this program to purport and promote our cause. However, the left is really good. It started with the Clinton administration, and when they wanted to demonize somebody, they could run them right in the ground. Right now, the left is really good at telling the world that anybody that doesn't agree with global warming is either absolutely a nutcase or wearing a tinfoil hat. How do you fight that in the news media that, like you said, is a lapdog to this administration?
Well, you have to make sure that we go around the traditional mainstream media outlets, and you're right. Those are severe, strong headwinds that we're fighting. But nevertheless, when you look at opinion polls, we see that while a majority of Americans agree that humans are causing some global warming, support for these policy prescriptions, these anti-energy restrictions, usually sits in about the 35% range. I think the American people are smart. They have access to information, and they recognize propaganda as opposed to truth.
All right. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead quickly, caller, please.
Yes, John Stossel had about 1,500 college students, Ivy League and others, and he was talking to them about subjects of all ranges, including this, the one student said, he says, as in the 60s, as the liberal hippies took over the learning centers, it's going to change the opposite direction. In other words, these students who want to have a future realize that the direction that we are headed is not going to allow them to have that. And the truth is that capitalism and the Constitution will be what sets them free and gives them an opportunity. And they are starting to wake up, and I'll hang up.
All right. Respond to that, if you would, please, James.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of John Stossel. I've been on this program a few times, and I saw the episode that the caller talked about. What we see in terms of the liberal takeover of universities, it's certainly something for concern. It certainly means that folks like you, Zeb, have your work cut out for you, but you're fighting the good fight. Now, keep in mind that they claim that the academic institutions were controlled by conservatives before the 60s, and yet you had the liberal counterculture. I think that there is a significant amount of conservative, free market, limited government counterculture that, with the assistance of our end runs around the mainstream media and the liberal academia, I think are still going to succeed, but we have to work hard.
Let me ask you this, James, and you forgot more about this than I'll ever know, and I respect your opinion, but really when it comes right down to brass tacks, what would be wrong with emitting more CO2 into the atmosphere because it would help farmers and grow a lot more plants? What's wrong with it, really?
Nothing. In fact, restricting carbon dioxide emissions does a lot more harm than good. What we know is that by historic standards, the atmosphere is relatively poor in terms of its carbon dioxide content. We know that as carbon dioxide levels have risen, and they've risen only slightly, from 3 parts per 10,000 in the atmosphere to now 4 parts per 10,000 in the atmosphere, comparing pre-industrial revolution times to today. What we see is that with that slight increase in carbon dioxide, we see that plants, crop production are doing much better. After all, carbon dioxide is aerial plant fertilizer. In terms of its effect on climate, the very gradual warming that we're seeing has resulted in fewer extreme weather events, regardless of what the media tells you. We have fewer hurricanes, fewer tornadoes, fewer and less severe droughts, etc. We happen to see deserts shrinking, forests expanding, etc. By any measure you look at, a warmer world with more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere benefits human health and welfare and will continue to do so for at least the next 2 or 3 centuries. In 2 or 3 centuries from now, I severely doubt we're going to be utilizing the same energy sources we do today. Look back 200 or 300 years ago. Were we using coal-fired power plants and automobiles? No, we weren't. So I think this is a so-called crisis that will solve itself, even if I'm wrong on the science, and even if all the scientists at Harvard, MIT, NASA, NOAA, etc., are similarly wrong.
You know, when you talk about the media, now this is a division right here that you probably have a lot more to do with and know about than I would by far. But when you talk to the media and you try to explain to them what's going on in honest terms about any climate change whatsoever, getting colder and or getting warmer, they don't buy it. They seem to be, like we said earlier, the lapdog for this administration, and they come out with different stories. Like in the newspaper USA Today the other day, they had a headline on one of their stories that said, "Globe stayed warm in January." Well, let me tell you something. You go to Fargo, North Dakota, you go to Chicago, you go to Minneapolis, St. Paul, or for that matter, go to Atlanta, Georgia, and tell those people how nice and warm it was in January.
Right, and what we're talking about, the warming since the Little Ice Age ended a little over years ago, what we're talking about is warming of just tenths of a single degree. Perhaps if we really want to believe the embellished temperature reports of the global warming activists, perhaps 1 degree of warming. That is not very significant. That is not something that changes the planet from a climate that's idyllic to one that is out of control and particularly harmful. And if you have any doubts about that, you just need to look back at the climate of the past 4, 5, 6,000 years when you see the temperatures have largely been warmer than today during that time period, and humans fared quite well.
James, if they get their way, if this administration really pushes for and gets in the next 3 years of their tenure a climate change atmosphere in their favor, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to change, and what do you think it will do to our country?
Well, restrictions on carbon dioxide emissions necessarily mean preventing people from using affordable energy. Coal is far and away our least expensive, widely available electricity source. They want to restrict natural gas, even though natural gas reduces pollutants vis-a-vis coal by 90% for the 6 principal pollutants tracked by EPA, and reduces carbon dioxide emissions by 50%. But for the environmental zealots, that's not good enough. What they want us relying upon is extremely expensive and intermittent, unreliable wind and solar power. It means our economy is going to go into the tank. It means we're going to have energy rationing. One thing to keep in mind, when you look at the wind and solar power, folks often say, well, the sun shines for free, the wind blows for free, so this obviously means it's less expensive. Solar power, wind power, the energy in sun rays and the wind, it's very diffuse. It's not concentrated like concentrated energy in coal and oil, etc. And in order to grab that energy and turn it into electricity, it's a very expensive process. It also requires a lot of land development. You need, by the American Wind Association's own numbers, you need 300 to 600 square miles of wind turbines to replace a single conventional power plant. This is something I wish environmental activists would talk about, because for me, that's a very severe environmental cost that I'm not willing to pay.
Absolutely. You know, the President during the State of the Union made a comment about taking money and having money available to really enhance solar and wind power for energy in this country, and we've seen so many flushings of our dollars down the toilet, and now it looks like it's going to get worse. Where are the senators? Where are the congressmen? And where are we, the people, in speaking out and saying enough is enough?
Yeah, they're hiding and they're ducking the truth. After the BP Gulf oil crisis, President Obama made a high-profile speech in which he said, this shows why we need more wind power and less oil. Well, first of all, wind power doesn't power cars, but let's assume for the sake of argument that the two were interchangeable. What we saw is that in a once-in-a-generation oil spill, according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, you had approximately 6,000 marine birds, marine mammals, marine reptiles that died as a result of the oil spill. But each and every year, as a result of wind power, you have 1.5 million birds and bats slaughtered in mid-flight by wind turbines. And that's with wind power providing only 3% of our electricity. So we're told that the solution to 6,000 animal deaths once in a generation is to embrace a more expensive energy source, electricity source, that kills 1.5 million birds and bats. That's just ridiculous.
What about the school systems, James? Are you and other members of your organization, are you trying to get into the schools? Are you trying to right the wrongs and the ills of what these climate change Al Gore types are doing to the kids at assemblies? And they go home and tell mom and dad that everything is evil every time they turn the car on. I mean, what about in the schools? Because I think that's where we really have to get proper education.
Well, we've looked at the Heartland Institute putting together a curriculum for science teachers in K through 12 schools to address the issue. But it's an expensive proposition, and despite what Al Gore and John Kerry will say, it's not like we have the deep pockets, of Al Gore's $100 million climate reality project or whatever you have there. So what we do right now is we respond to parents, to teachers, to students who have concerns, who would like more information, and we send out information as requested, and we're eager to get involved to the extent that somebody contacts us. So if anybody is dealing with such an issue in their local school district, feel free to give us a call at the Heartland Institute, and feel free to send me an email, jtaylor@heartland.org.
I appreciate your being on the program this morning, and please know that I've got your numbers. I'm going to be in touch with you, and anything we can do out here to help you or promote your cause, let us know. James Taylor, I appreciate your effort this morning. Thank you, and come back again.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. James Taylor, managing editor of Environment and Climate News and also with the Heartland Institute, and that man knows energy and environmental issues, and I'm so glad he was on the air. I am so sick and tired of the John Kerry types and others. Oh, we're all melting. No, we are not all melting. Oh, hey, by the way, every Thursday, I got to get my papers straight here. You should see my desk. No, you shouldn't. But every Thursday, we have school days in Cassia County at about 10 minutes after 10 in the morning, and I'm very, very blessed to have two wonderful businesses be a part of that show. And one is A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. They just had a great big birthday celebration last week, and oh my goodness sakes, it's just absolutely fantastic. They've got so many different clothes coming in for spring, and they've got all the games, and they got all the comfortable shoes, and free layaway. I mean, you just get in there and check it out. They've got everything for the family that you could absolutely ever want. Child's World, 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And then, of course, also, I'm very blessed to have on the air the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. All the number is easy to remember, 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. For over 14 years, the Ambulatory Surgery Center of Burley has saved area families thousands of dollars, and they have always received outstanding medical care. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays. Now, I'm going to take some time right here and try to find this note. Oh, my goodness, how do you like that? Right on top. Interesting. The Minnecasia Lincoln Day Luncheon is going to be held on this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. at Maury's Steakhouse in Burley. Now, my wife and I are definitely going to be there. And I have said this for a long, long time, and I mean this, that it's easy for you to complain at the coffee shop. It's easy for you to complain to your friends and neighbors about what's going on, but how about putting basically your money where your mouth is and meeting the legislators and representatives and senators and congressmen head on with your questions and demand answers by going to the Minnecasia Lincoln Day Luncheon at Maury's Steakhouse. The tickets can be purchased at the door for $25 each. You can contact Chairman Gary Koss at 312-9374 from Minidoka County, or you can contact for Cassia County Chairman Wayne Hurst at 654-2037, and I hope you show up. I do hope you show up this coming Saturday at Maury's, the Minnecasia Lincoln Day Luncheon. Okay? We're going to take a little break and give it back over to Gina, and then I'm going to come back with a gentleman that's running for the position of governor in the state of Idaho, and his name is Russ Fulcher. We'll have more in just a few moments.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. And we are now in the thick of it, if you will, looking at 2014 for the midterm elections. And we have a gentleman with us this morning that is a state senator representing basically the Treasure Valley, and he wants to throw his name in the hat possibly to become governor. And we say good morning to Mr. Russ Fulcher. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Why in the world would you want to leave the confines of the Senate floor and become a single entity as the boss of the state of Idaho as governor?
Well, that's a really good question. And, Zeb, it's been 10 years now. This is my 10th year in the Senate. And I just got to the point where I saw a number of things going on in the state that I just kind of disagree with that are happening out of that executive office. And so we thought, you know what, if you're going to take a stand for something, then you need to just take a stand for something. So we are, and here we are. We're running.
So I respect that, because I said just before you came on the air this morning, I said the last half hour, I am so sick and tired of people complaining, going and playing the coffee shop cowboy type thing, complaining about government, complaining about their Senate representation or their congressman or whatever, and then when they have a chance, like during the Lincoln Day banquets, to go and meet these people right up front and personal and look them in the eye and ask them a question, they don't do it. It's about time more people got involved.
Well, I thank you very much. One of the things that my wife and I talked about when we were considering doing this is I knew that I was one of the very few people who realistically had a chance of making this work. And maybe this is a little bit selfish, but I look back and I say, you know what, if I don't try, Zeb, right now to do this, and I look back 3 years from now and Common Core is fully implemented and the health exchange, the Obamacare stuff is fully implemented, and I look in the mirror and I say, you know what, you disagree with this stuff, but you didn't do anything about it. That's the worst outcome for me, is just looking in the mirror and living with myself, knowing that I disagree with what's going on, but yet didn't do anything about it. So
well, let me ask you.
We're engaged, and you know what? It looks good. There's a bunch of great folks across this state. There's a lot of people with like mind, and we're reaching out and touching them.
Russ, I hope you're not offended if I call you by your first name, but I'm an old guy. I'm 66. I probably got quite a few years on you, so you're younger than I am. But what is about Common Core education that has kind of wrinkled the fur on the back of your neck like it has mine, but yet we have other people go on television and radio and say that we are the tinfoil hat people that are just out looking for something to denigrate?
Well, first of all, I prefer to be called by my first name for whatever that's worth.
Okay.
In terms of Common Core, it's just like any other federal program. Goals to the Top, Race 2000, No Child Left Behind. It's a federally driven program that is being airdropped around the United States. That's a one-size-fits-all type of standard or set of standards. And I believe the intent is probably just fine. But the result is not good. There are significant differences between Idaho and inner city Detroit, and to try to put the same set of standards on both, A, doesn't work. B, I don't like the fact that Idahoans don't control it. The curriculum, the testing standards. I want to know as a parent what the version of history is my kids are going to get taught. I want to know what kind of sex education they're going to get exposed to. I want to have a good idea. I want our parents and our teachers to have input. I want them to be the driving factor of the input on the curriculum, on the testing data, because teachers will teach to the test, and perhaps most importantly, or at least as important, is the data of our children and what happens to that data. Where does it go? What's it used for? Who sees it? Those are all things that we don't control under Common Core, regardless of what people say.
All right. I'm going to kind of shotgun some issues at you here this morning because I want to hear your opinion on them. One of the issues that I think is going to be devastating not only for, naturally, our state of Idaho citizens, but also nationwide, and we're seeing repercussions of it already at its first implementation, is Obamacare. What would you have done differently than what the current administration did regarding the Idaho Health Exchange on Obamacare?
Well, first of all, there is no such thing as a state exchange, and that was the misleading part of this whole thing. There's a federal exchange operated by state employees, or there's a federal exchange operated by federal employees. Our current governor and eventually the legislature took, in my view, the wrong path by embracing and inviting into our state a federal exchange operated by state employees. I fought that. I lost that. But the fight is not over. We're continuing it in this race. But here's why it was bad to have a federal exchange run by state employees. When we embraced that, when we brought that into our state voluntarily, the state of Idaho became invested in seeing Obamacare succeed. And the state of Idaho became responsible for enforcing it. So now we're responsible for enforcing a law that most Idahoans don't like on our own people. Mm-hmm. There's another negative downside to it. When you voluntarily take the money and you embrace it and you bring it in, you also put yourself in a much poorer position to legally challenge the most egregious components. It was the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is to create a parallel path that's privately driven, where the people have the ability to control the money, and you create a better solution. No more state funds should go into Obamacare. No more state man-hours should go into Obamacare.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about state lands. There is and I am absolutely a proponent that if we can take over any of the federal lands and adopt them into the state fold, the better off we'll be as a state. What are your thoughts on incorporating some of the federal land into the state of Idaho?
You are absolutely right. 62% of the land that we stand on in this state is controlled by the federal government, which generally means we can't touch it. That is like a huge economic engine waiting to be switched on. Imagine if we were wisely managing our timber instead of watching it go up in smoke. Imagine if we had wise, balanced access to some of our minerals. Natural gas in Washington and Fayette counties. That's a game changer for this state. Imagine Idaho in a situation where we were energy exporters like North Dakota, Texas, Wyoming. Tremendous opportunity there, not to just sell it off the highest bidder, but to wisely manage the God-given resources we were bestowed with. If we do that, Zeb, that puts us in a fiscal position where we can start saying no to some of these federal subsidies. We don't need to have the subsidies for education. We don't need the subsidies for health and welfare, for transportation. We've got our own resources. The problem with those federal subsidies is they come with strings attached. If we have access to our own resources, we're wisely managing them within the state, then that puts us in an economic position to be more independent, raise the employment so we don't have all these low minimum wage jobs, and at the same time reduce that fiscal tether between Idaho and the federal government. And we got to do that because they're broke.
Russ, what do you say to people that come up to you and say, no, it's going to be too expensive. We can't adopt those lands into the Idaho state land fold. It'll cost us too much money and we just don't have the money. How do you respond to that?
I tell them that we can't afford not to. The federal government is responsible for almost 40% of the critical services that come into this state, and they're $17 trillion in debt. If anyone has an employer that is on a per capita base or a percentage base in that level of debt, they'd be very, very, very nervous because their source of income is so jeopardized. Well, that's what's happened with the federal government. We depend on the federal government for almost 40% of the revenue coming into this state or coming through a federal channel, and they're $17 trillion in debt. So we have kind of the worst of both worlds right now. We're dependent on a broke system, and we're subject to the influence of that broken system, when in reality, if we were managing our own resources, we would not have that need for dependence. We would not be subject to those influences, because if we're fiscally independent, we can say no to some of the policy influences coming out of D.C.
Okay. As I'll stand toe-to-toe with anybody and nose-to-nose, we are still an agricultural state. We still absolutely need all the water and all the resources from agriculture to keep our economy growing. And right now, Russ, we're looking at a real serious situation here in this part of the state, with a water call that could stop almost 200,000 acres from being in farming existence, and also the communities, 12 different communities, might absolutely fade off into the oblivion. What are your thoughts about water and what's been done in the past and what we need to do in the future?
Well, I tell you what, that is the bottom line resource that we've got to be we worry about. And it goes back to that whole thing I'm talking about with the kind of that sovereignty discussion. Our state needs to be the one that's making those decisions, and it can't be influenced by outside. And even within that state, I do believe generally in the first in time, first in right type of doctrine. But the real pressure that I see is these interstate compacts and this federal pressure to come and take that resource or move that resource outside of the control of Idahoans. And you know what? From an executive standpoint, out of our executive office, that's got to be vigorously protected. And that's what I intend to do.
Now, I want to stay on this just for a moment here, because there's a lot of businesses that are looking at coming into not only southern Idaho, but the state of Idaho in general. And boy, oh boy, as a governor, you're going to have to be a good poster boy for trying to sell them if all of a sudden we've got water issues to where a lot of these communities might not even be around. How do you go about doing that?
Well, I suppose one of the things that stands out when you ask that question, it just has to do with we seemingly are spending more time and effort trying to recruit those businesses from outside of our state, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if we're in a good situation where we can attract those businesses and we have the resources for that to happen, that's wonderful. However, our most natural form of growth should be from the industries that we've already got. Our ag business right now, our dairy business, those things we should be encouraging the existing businesses, the existing economy that we've got, and prioritizing our resources for our existing folks. That's where the most natural growth should be, not trying to bring it in from outside. And so I don't know if I'm directly answering your question, but that's what popped into my head. I think we've got to offer as much control and encouragement to the people that are already here as trying to bring in influence from outside.
Russ, let me ask you this, and I'm going to be straightforward, and I don't pull any punches on this program. You were one of the people that voted against the Ag Security and Protection Bill that was in the House and then in the Senate. And why did you vote against it? Because I'm a big proponent of keeping the enviros and the animal rights people at bay. I have been in the rodeo business for 40 years. I have been a spokesman for the rodeo business with the PRCA for 40 years. I have seen what these people will do with their edited footage of films on the grounds, on farms, on dairies, and I think the bill was a good bill. Why did you vote against it?
First of all, it's a great question. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to answer it, because when you're on the floor and you're going through these things and you're trying to read the language and understand it and anticipate the debate and whatnot, sometimes things aren't clear. And I'll be honest with you, Zeb, that's one of those that if that was coming back before me again, I may take a separate look at. And I'm not just patronizing you with that. It's true. I'll tell you what was going through my head. There is so many efforts by this government to increase the power of the authorities. And so many people argue we're becoming more and more of a police state. They created a whole section of criminal code, which is a whole new section of reasons why people could be arrested, detained, charged, and so on and so forth. Generally speaking, I have been a carte blanche no on anything that increases police power. This was one of those that increased police power. That was what I was thinking about at the time. However, to be perfectly honest, a number of good, credible people have come and talked to me afterwards and said, hey, you know what? It really wasn't so much about police power as it was personal property right. I may have got that one wrong.
You know, Russ, I appreciate your candor on that, because here's the situation. I think a lot of people, and you as possibly becoming governor, you need to expand on this. It wasn't and isn't just about the dairy industry. It's about all facets of agriculture. I'm in the horse business. If I'm out in my arena and a horse acts up and I give it a spanking and one of these people happens to be there on my property with a camera, they can edit that and they can do whatever they want to try to put me out of business, or anybody else, whether it's the hog business, whether it's even a dog training kennel. And that's why we've got to be more secure that these people, these types of people and groups, aren't having more power to come in and threaten our livelihoods.
I take that as good counsel, Zeb, and what I said earlier, I meant it. I mean, on some of these things, when they come in front of you, you take the information you got, you make a judgment call at the time, and what was going through my head was that whole police power type of thing, which generally I don't like. But I also get now the other side of that argument, which is personal property right, and the fact that other people are being infringed, and it's not just for one particular industry. So good counsel, I appreciate the feedback.
Let me ask you about another major problem that is not going away, and nobody has any power on common sense side to stop this, with the environmentalists and the animal rights people with the wolves. You know, Russ, that this is a problem that we thought we had solved, and we agreed and made an agreement in writing that we would allow 10 breeding pair and possibly 100 wolves come into the state. Now there is the equivalency of some groups say that there's about 1,400, some say there's 700, some say there's 900. We're way over and above the number, but yet we're subjected to where the environmentalists are telling us, oh no, you can't trap them, oh no, you can't shoot them, oh no, you can't manage them. This number is increasingly getting bigger, and it's causing more problems. What do we do?
Well, that is probably, if not the most emotional, one of the most emotional issues across the state. I've been up and down from the top to the bottom of the state 5-6 times in the last few weeks, and that raises to the top every single time. Zeb, sometimes, I believe from a leadership role that the leader of a state, the leader of organizations needs to stand up and just say, hey, you know what, this is not in the best interest of our state. Wolves may be one of them. I have seen the devastation that has been the result, both to our ag industry and to our sportsmen. These guys are killers. These things are killers, and when it comes to policies being dropped in from either the federal government or arguments, whether it be from a specific stakeholder group or whatever, that's just purely not in the best interest of our state, sometimes I think you just need to say no.
Okay.
This is one of them. And with the wolf situation, rather than create another bureaucracy to oversee a bureaucracy, I've yet to hear a good explanation why we can't take some of those resources that have been proposed to create a bureaucracy to oversee this and not apply those resources directly to encourage the reduction of those wolf numbers significantly. And that's what needs to happen. We've got to go in and we have to just greatly reduce those numbers.
Russ, I'll kind of turn it over to you to give a summation right now as far as any other issues that are hot topics for you in your quest for being the governor. I've got about 2 minutes left, and I'll let you finish it up. Go ahead.
Well, we've hit the big ones. The health care, I'm on a completely different page with the governor on that. That needs to be a private solution, and there's ways to do it. There's health care savings accounts, there's direct pay, there's charity care, there's opening up competition that would create a better solution with health care. On the education front, my whole mantra has been that Idahoans need to be the ones in charge, not somebody out of state, not somebody back in D.C. The federal lands issue is, I think, over time, the game changer economically for this state. We either succeed, and by the way, there's 12 other states taking steps to do this. Hawaii has already succeeded, and there are other states that are legitimately moving to get wise access to their lands. That's the economic engine that will give us the independence that we need over time, and loosen that fiscal tether between Idaho and Washington, D.C. that we desperately need to do, not just for our sake, but for the sake of the federal government as well. They're in bad shape, and so to the extent we can be more independent, better for everybody. Last thing is just the need for wise counsel. You know, nobody, myself included, has all the answers. And we're not right all the time. But any success I've ever had has been a function of having wise counsel around me that has been able to give me the pros and cons of these arguments. I will need that. I will seek that, and I ask that from your listener base, too. I could use some wise counsel.
You know what? I appreciate your candid remarks, and you're a straight shooter. Russ Fulcher, running for governor for the great state of Idaho. You will more than likely be back on this program again in the future, and I wish you a lot of success, and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the show this morning.
Zeb, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I look forward to meeting a lot of your listeners in person.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll do the same. I'll see you in the future and shake hands. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Russ Fulcher, fourth-generation Idahoan, running for the seat of governor for the great state of Idaho. And I'm sure we'll have more information on him and about him in the future. Right now, it's time for a weather update. Here is Michael Rogers, weather.com.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Today it's going to be partly sun with a high of 57 for today. Overnight low will be right around 39. So enjoy the day where it's going to be partly sunny. And enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. Michael Rogers with his weather forecast. You know what I forgot to do this morning, and we kind of made it a habit last week. We started it on the program, and I'm sorry, Pardon?
Tip of the cup?
Yes! Thank you for that great reminder 2 hours late.
Hey, your show, it wasn't on the radio.
No, you're the quarterback. You got to sometime. Hey, listen, I'm 66 years old, lady. I forget, okay?
Okay, I'm going to permanently put it down on our rundown, and if you miss it, I will chide you.
And I had some great people on there for this morning, so I'm going to say the tip of the coffee cup to our friends Eli and Nick at Barry Rental. Yes, I want to say Barry Equipment Rental, these guys are really nice people. And I want to say to one of my roping partners that listens every day on the program, Sean Coombs, good morning to him. I want to say to Joel Heward over at Hanson Mortuary, what a nice person he is. And a guy that's always at our lunch bunch, and he always has his hat on, and he's just really an interesting person, Warren Miller. So we say a tip of the coffee cup to all those people this morning. There you go.
Got it. Okay.
I felt bad when I missed that. It's kind of been a stalwart for the last week or so.
Now, okay, here's my question to you, and of course, closed circuit message all over the world, but what time do you want to schedule this at, and so I can remind you every day?
I want to do it in the first hour, probably within the first 15 minutes.
Okay.
But you see, now here, I'm going to hold, am I on your camera over there?
No.
Oh, okay. I have a spiral notebook and my log sheets right here in front of me, and I use like 97 different colored highlighters. And I have this in pink, green, and orange. And I still missed it.
You still missed it? See, I keep a daily track of our rundown every day, and I have this big old binder
Me too.
that I use. But all of mine is done in pencil, and when we go through and complete a task, I put a check mark by it.
Yeah, so do I. But you see, my sheet looks like the Gettysburg Address.
Yes.
Yeah. That answers that. Hey, by the way, real quick, Lunch Bunch is going to be this Thursday. Don't forget that, and we want you to be there if you can be.
I will definitely try. This Thursday, the 27th.
Yes.
Fun.
Now, as you know, and I'll say this quickly because I got to get a commercial in. As you know, I will not be here on the air Wednesday, but you and Sharon Hardy Mills will be. I'm going to be gone one day only, Wednesday. I've got to go down and get a bone scan on my leg at University of Utah, and then I'll be back, and we'll go to Lunch Bunch on Thursday.
Okay, and are you ready for the recordings when I call you directly after?
At noon or directly after?
No, let's do noon.
Okay, yeah, it gives me a chance to go, take a little break. All right, I'll do Les Schwab, and I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. Man, I tell you, Gina and Deanne, they do a wonderful job. Hey, don't forget the Founders Day celebration at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers in honor of Mr. Les Schwab. Oh, boy, what a great man he was. Started a fantastic business. And we have 7 great locations right here in the Magic Valley serving you. We've got Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline, and Randy on Overland and Burley. He's still higher than a kite because the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. They've got great buys on tires, and of course they've got the best in brake service and front end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. Please stop in, save money, and get the best of service at the big Founders celebration in honor of Mr. Les Schwab at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Also, I want to say a thank you real quick to Smith's Foods and Hanson Mortuary for all the gift cards that they give us to give out to our lunch bunchers. And like on Thursday, we're going to do that at Denny's restaurant. Oh, my goodness, we're looking forward to it. The service, the food, everything was, believe me, out of sight. It was fantastic. And to Thomas over at Denny's, when you see Thomas, go over there and just kind of kick him in the leg and say, wow, Zeb was really bragging on you because you did a heck of a job last month on our first lunch bunch, and I'm sure you'll do the same this coming Thursday. Tomorrow on the program, I got to take a look here real quick. We have Senator Lee Hyder calling in at 9:06. And then we have one of the sharpest guys in all of Minidoka County for any time, anywhere with history, and that's Gary Shoresman. And then my dear friend Dave Beagle is going to call in on the union situation and talk primarily about what happened at Tennessee with the Volkswagen vote, no to the unions. And then we're going to be, and Gina doesn't know this yet, we're going to be placing a call to a young lady that lives over in the Ukraine in Kiev. And I know, don't worry, Kimley, I'll pay for the extra charges, but it's going to be very interesting and firsthand from a person right there in the Ukraine tomorrow. So, all that being said, it's going to be a busy day tomorrow.
I'm ready.
All right. Zeb at the Ranch, K-Bar 1230, streaming live on ZebBell.com. The way things were are the way things ought to be. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. God bless.